A slow Windows computer can drive you absolutely crazy. One day it feels fine, and the next day you click on something, wait, stare at the screen, wait some more, and start wondering if the computer even heard you. Now here's the thing most people do not realize. A Windows computer usually does not become slow for one mysterious reason. Most of the time, it is a mix of small problems building up in the background. Sometimes it is old hardware. Sometimes it is too many programs starting at the same time. Sometimes Windows itself is damaged. And sometimes the computer is simply trying to do modern work on parts that were never built for it. After working around Windows computers for years, you start seeing the same problems again and again. Different computers, different owners, different brands, but the causes are usually very similar. So in this video, we are going to go through the most common reasons a Windows computer slows down. I will start with the problems that are usually less common, then work toward the ones I see all the time. And before someone says, just use Linux or buy a Mac, yes, those options exist. But this video is not for people who want to change operating systems. This is for the person who already has a Windows computer, needs that Windows computer, and just wants it to stop acting like it is running through mud. Maybe you use Windows for school, maybe you use it for work, maybe your favorite software only runs on Windows, or maybe you simply do not want to learn a completely new system. That is perfectly fine. The goal here is simple: help you understand what might be slowing your PC down, what you can check first, and when it actually makes sense to repair, upgrade, or replace the machine. So let's start with the first reason. The first major reason your Windows computer may feel slow is simple. The hardware may not be strong enough for what you are asking it to do. A lot of people buy a computer because the price looks good. Maybe it was on sale, maybe it looked modern. Maybe the box said it was perfect for school, office work, or everyday use. But when you look inside, you may find something different. Some budget laptops and desktops come with very little memory, also called RAM. 4 gigabytes of RAM may technically run Windows, but that does not mean it will run Windows well. Once you open a browser, a few tabs, maybe Word, maybe YouTube, and maybe an antivirus program in the background, that small amount of memory gets used up very quickly. When RAM runs out, Windows starts using the storage drive as temporary memory, and that is much slower. That is when the computer begins to hesitate, freeze, or take forever to switch between programs. The second big hardware issue is the storage drive. If your computer still has an old mechanical hard drive, upgrading to an SSD can make a huge difference. A mechanical drive has moving parts, an SSD does not. That means an SSD can open Windows, load programs, and move files much faster. For many older computers, replacing the hard drive with an SSD feels like giving the machine a second life. It will not turn a very old computer into a gaming monster, but for basic use, the difference can be shocking. Before buying a new computer, check two things: how much RAM your computer has, and whether it uses a hard drive or SSD. If the processor is still decent, a RAM upgrade or SSD upgrade may save you money. But be realistic. Upgrades help when the computer has room to grow. If the machine is extremely old, limited, or already struggling even after simple tasks, hardware upgrades may not be worth it. Now let's say your computer has enough RAM, and maybe it already has an SSD, but it still feels slow. The next thing to think about is whether something inside the computer is not working correctly. Your storage drive can have errors even if it has not completely failed. Sometimes Windows is trying to read a file, but that file is damaged, misplaced, or sitting in a bad area of the drive. When that happens, the computer has to work harder just to open something simple. Think of it like looking for one document in a messy office. If everything is labeled and organized, you find it in seconds. But if papers are scattered everywhere, you may still find it, but it takes much longer. A damaged or disorganized drive can make Windows feel the same way. Windows has built-in tools that can check the drive and repair certain file system problems. These tools will not fix every issue, but they are worth trying before you spend money. Memory problems can also make a computer act strange. Bad RAM does not always mean the computer will stop working completely. Sometimes it causes random freezing, programs crashing, blue screens, or slow performance that seems to come and go. That is why testing the memory is important. If your computer freezes for no clear reason, Windows includes a memory diagnostic tool, and there are also more advanced tools that technicians use when they want a deeper test. Another very common reason for slowness is low storage space. Windows needs empty space to breathe. It uses free space for updates, temporary files, system work, and background tasks. When your drive is almost full, the whole system can feel heavy. Photos, videos, downloads, old installers, and duplicate files can quietly fill the drive over time. Cleaning unnecessary files, or moving large folders to another drive can instantly improve performance. So before blaming Windows completely, check the health of your drive, test the RAM, and make sure your computer has enough free space to operate properly. The next reason your Windows computer may be slow is one of the most common ones. Too many programs are starting automatically. This happens all the time. You install a printer app, a cloud storage app, a video player, a chat app, a game launcher, a browser tool, and maybe some update software. Each one seems harmless by itself, but many of them quietly add themselves to startup. That means every time you turn on your computer, Windows is not just loading Windows. It is also loading all those extra apps in the background before you even start working. So when people say, "My computer takes forever to start," this is often why. The good news is you can check this easily. Open Task Manager and look at the Startup section. You will usually see a list of apps that are allowed to run when Windows starts. Some may be important, like your security software or audio tools, but many are not needed every single time. For example, a cloud app, music app, game launcher, or office helper does not always need to start automatically. You can still open it manually when you actually need it. Disabling it from startup does not delete the program. It only stops it from launching by itself. Background processes are another issue. Sometimes a program is running even though you do not see it on the screen. It may be using your processor, memory, disk, or internet connection without making it obvious. In Task Manager, you can sort by CPU, memory, or disk usage and see what is using the most resources. If one program is constantly sitting at the top, that may be part of the problem, but be careful. Do not randomly close Windows system processes if you do not know what they are. Focus on apps you recognize first. A clean startup can make an older computer feel much smoother. The fewer unnecessary things Windows has to carry, the faster it can focus on what you actually want to do. Now, we need to talk about something that can slow a computer down badly: malware, unwanted programs, and bad security software. A lot of people think malware always looks obvious. They imagine pop-ups everywhere, strange warnings, or the computer completely locking up. Sometimes that happens, but not always. Many infections are quiet. They sit in the background, use your internet, track activity, open hidden processes, or force your computer to do work you never asked it to do. That background activity can make Windows feel slow, unstable, and unpredictable. Unwanted programs can cause the same problem. Maybe you installed a free tool and clicked next to fast. Now there are extra browser extensions, search tools, cleanup apps, or trial programs running in the background. They may not be full viruses, but they still waste resources. Then, there is antivirus software. Good protection is important, but some security programs are extremely heavy. They scan constantly, interrupt normal work, and use a large amount of memory or processor power. Sometimes the antivirus becomes one of the biggest reasons the computer feels slow. So yes, protect your computer, but use security software that is reliable and lightweight. Do not install 3 different antivirus programs at the same time. More protection does not always mean better protection. Sometimes it just means more conflicts and more slowdowns. Another major cause is damaged Windows system files. This can happen after failed updates, sudden shutdowns, power cuts, crashes, or years of normal use. When Windows files become corrupted, the computer may boot slowly, freeze, fail to update, or behave strangely for no clear reason. In that case, Windows repair tools can help. You may try System File Repair, System Restore, Startup Repair, uninstalling a bad update, or resetting Windows while keeping personal files. But if Windows is badly damaged, sometimes the cleanest answer is a fresh installation. It sounds extreme, but a clean Windows install can make a badly corrupted computer feel normal again. Now we are at the part nobody really wants to hear. Sometimes your computer is not slow because of one setting, one virus, one update, or one full folder. Sometimes it is slow because it is simply old, and that is not an insult to the computer. It may have served you well for years. It may have your photos, documents, programs, and memories on it. But technology moves forward. Websites become heavier. Windows updates become bigger. Apps use more memory. Even basic tasks today can demand more power than they did years ago. So the real question is not just, can this computer be fixed? The better question is, when this computer is working at its best, am I happy with it? That one question can save you money. If the answer is yes, then repairing it may be worth it. Maybe it only needs an SSD. Maybe it needs more RAM. Maybe Windows needs to be cleaned up or repaired. In that case, spending a little money could give the machine more useful life. But if the answer is no, and even on a good day it still feels slow, then be careful. Spending money on repairs may not be smart. You might replace the drive, add memory, clean Windows, and still end up frustrated because the processor and overall system are too old. That is when replacement starts making more sense. You do not always need the most expensive computer. You need the right computer for what you actually do. If you only browse, write documents, watch videos, and check email, you do not need a monster machine. But you do need something modern enough to run smoothly, so start with the simple checks first. Look at RAM, check storage, disable startup apps, scan for malware, repair Windows if needed. But if you have done all that and the computer still feels tired, it may be time to move on. A computer should help you work, study, create, and relax. It should not make every simple task feel like a battle. That is how you stop fighting your computer and start enjoying it again.